Now, there are deep things people do not talk about when it comes to sex. And if done properly according to the word of God, you are protected. The child's soul is protected, and the enemy does not have any legal right to come against the family or the child in the womb. Sex also is a covenant. And if you are practicing ungodly method of sex, you are not only giving legal rights to the spirit of immorality, to the spirit of lust by means of the covenant, but also you're opening doors for demonic influence. Many teenagers are confused about their gender because of the sexual acts practiced by their parents, giving legal rights to the spirit of perversion on the child in the womb from a very young age. Some children are born with transgender dysphoria because of the presence of a demon, the spirit of perversion, that has gained access, legal access to the child in the womb due to the ungodly practices, sexual practices done by the parents. That is why we are seeing the level of perversion in the world in this generation today. One of the reasons you must pay the price of purity if you want to walk with God in these last days. Like the times of Noah, there will always be a remnant in every generation. Do not let anyone deceive you. You cannot be a priest and be a porn star. You cannot play holy in church and be a freak in the bedroom at home under the guise of marriage. God has told us to be holy in all our affairs. The human mind was built with a firewall. Think of it like a computer system. There are levels of security protection against virus, and this virus is darkness. And the more you expose yourself to ungodly acts like sexual immorality, like porn, you break down those walls. And that is what leads to reprobate mind. When the Bible, Romans chapter 1, verse 24 to 31, talks about a reprobate mind, when you break down those walls in your mind, you begin to see evil as good and good as evil. That is why Jesus asks, if the light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Meaning, how deep have you gone? How many walls have you broken?
Children and adults alike are identifying as all kinds of different things. Hundreds of people who identify as dogs bark at each other at this Berlin train station. This phenomenon is known as trans species, people who believe they're another animal trapped in a human's body. This woman lives as a horse, which has clearly yielded her certain athletic abilities. This 13-year-old boy identifies as a cat. He eats cat food out of the dish on the floor and even uses cat toys. But does he use the litter box? But it doesn't stop at animals. People can identify as anything. This girl identifies as an elf. She identifies as a baby. This one a mermaid. This is a lawyer who identifies as a robot. Is this behavior something that we should be concerned about? Or in a free and open society, should people have the right to be and act and do whatever they'd like as long as they're not hurting anybody? I tend to agree with the latter.
When I talk about a reprobate mind or the firewalls of the mind, let's use an example of sexual immorality. It always starts out with fornication and then it gets darker. You begin to accept the idea of threesomes or orgies, and then it gets darker. You begin to accept the idea of sex or sex, and then it gets darker. You begin to accept the idea of homosexual acts, and then it gets darker. You begin to think of bestiality. These are firewalls, and even in between fornication alone, there are several walls that can be broken from going from the normal standard act of missionary. You want to try other sexual acts. These things break your firewalls of the mind to accept and love sin